hardships in life. It's pretty amazing to see team members from all over who are showing up to support this family that they've never met before, and the sense of camaraderie that we have when we're on the ground together. I think we have the opportunity to do something massive to change the world. Whether it's building a house or whether it's solving hunger, we need to step up. That's really it.
Between building a house and building a life, there's Joy Bradley. Cisco, the bridge to possible. Domino's customers have one thing in common when placing an order. They're hungry. They want their pizza, and they want it ASAP, if not sooner. So Domino's began looking for ways to simplify the ordering process. That's when they called Cisco. From the data center to the store, Cisco built a secure, scalable infrastructure that helped streamline ordering. In other words, it got hot food to hungry customers faster, no matter what platform they ordered from, while giving Domino's an edge over their competitors. Delicious. Between craving a better experience and delivering it, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
The town I grew up in hasn't changed much since I was young. There just aren't many opportunities there. Higher education was out of reach, so kids didn't dream of getting a decent job. But my family always strived to provide a better life for me than they had for themselves. When I decided to take classes at the Cisco Networking Academy, my father worked extra jobs and even sold his van so I could afford living in the city. I graduated in 2007 and have been working in Zhengzhou ever since. On my day off, I travel back home to see my family. The look on their faces when I walk out the door makes being away all week worth it. I have a wonderful opportunity to provide a better life for my wife and our children. And an even greater opportunity to take care of my mother and father, to repay them for all the sacrifices they made. I've been able to buy them a car and a house, and that has made them so proud, especially my mother. And that means the world to me. I never imagined I would be where I am today.
Between a better job and a better life, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
Wake up in one city, go to sleep in another. Life on the road is relentless. I've been in the music industry for about 15 years now. I've got about 20 tours under my belt. Those tours have taken me all over the world. Tours today rely on tech. This tour relies on Cisco. No matter where we are in the world, when we arrive at the venue, the first question everybody asks is, what's the Wi-Fi password? That's the most crucial piece for setting up our production office and getting to work. We've got over 100 full-time touring staff. Every single one of us uses our phone to communicate with one another. The producers, the dancers, the band, even the lighting trusses communicate with Justin's in-ears over the Cisco Meraki system. So when Justin navigates the stage, they can all move as a unit. There's really no room for error. It needs to work every single time. Cisco gives us the reliable connectivity we need to deliver the best experience possible for Justin's fans. When anybody has a moment to catch a break on tour, the first thing we do is connect with our loved ones.
Hi, honey.
Anything we can do to feel like we're home. When we are working on the world's best tours, we want the world's best partners, and we're lucky to have Cisco as a partner. It makes our lives so much easier.
Between the show and the business, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible. The port of Shanghai is the largest seaport in the world. It's also the busiest, handling over 40 million containers in 2017, setting a new world record. But what happens when the world's busiest port needs to get even busier?
As China's economy continues to grow, we need to be able to handle even more container volume. Adding more people and equipment doesn't help. You end up with increased traffic, which actually lowers efficiency.
The solution was intelligence. In 2017, the Port of Shanghai began a digital transformation plan that would revolutionize the entire shipping business. Imagine a port, fully automated and fully intelligent.
Our approach to increase volume was to use an intelligent port automation system that increases the efficiency of all port resources. Port of Shanghai's Yangshan automated system was fully designed and developed by our group's Shanghai Harbor E-Logistics software company.
A system this important demands a high-performance infrastructure with unmatched reliability.
We chose Cisco HyperFlex because of its ease of deployment and management capabilities. In addition, we were concerned about the continuous growth of the port and the ever-increasing volume, and needed a data center infrastructure with rapid scalability and superb performance.
Today, the Port of Shanghai is not only the world's busiest port, it's also considered the most advanced automated container port in the world. If we can help the world's busiest port get even busier, where can Cisco take your business? Between growing fast and growing smart, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
I was really good in math and physics. So that was my favorite subject since high school. That's actually how I ended up in engineering. My name is Alphonsine Imana-Raguha. I am a consulting engineer at Cisco in the US. But I was born in Rwanda. It was April 6th, 1994. That night, we heard like a loud explosion in the sky. We rushed to listen to our radio, and we learned that President of Rwanda, that his plane was shut down. That was the beginning of the genocide. I was 13 years old. I remember just hiding in the bushes, not sleeping at home at night. My dad was like, hide here, I'm going to find another place where we can safely all hide. As soon as my dad left, we immediately overheard the group of militiamen say that they just killed him. I didn't feel the ground. I didn't feel the air around me. There was no wind, there was no sun. I was already dead. Eventually, I found my 3 younger siblings. They were in the orphanage. At that point, I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but my life has a meaning. Just watching how one person could make a big difference, I started on my nonprofit, Rising Above the Storms. We work with the homeless kids. We help them go back to school. I could have ended on the street. I could have been one of them, and just seeing them actually dreaming, it gives me hope. Doesn't matter how you do it, make a goal to change one life. Seeing how Cisco has enabled me to do something I love so much, I can't imagine a better feeling in this life.
Between survival and inspiration, there's Alphonsine Imana-Raguha. As in so many cities, for Kyoto, tourism is a very big deal. But tourism means people, and with so many of them, the city had its hands full. Kyoto didn't just have to get better at managing them all, it had to get smarter. And with Cisco's help, that's exactly what happened. Strategically located smart kiosks now connect tourists with a concierge who can steer them to less congested attractions, so crowds are more evenly distributed. Smart street lighting monitors foot traffic, automatically controls brightness when and where it's needed most, and pinpoints outages in real time, so repairs can be made faster. And with special terminals monitoring multiple cameras, data can be compared simultaneously, making the city safer than ever before. As for the people of Kyoto and the millions of tourists who visit every year, they have just one thing to say about their new smart city. We can't wait to see what's next. Between ancient and smart, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
This business started 53 years ago as a hobby, and it still is a hobby to everyone that works here. It started with audio, they added lights, and it was sound and lights for quite a while. They added video, lasers, pyrotechnica, they added automation.
Currently, right now, as we roll into the summer, we have about 350 tours happening. We support around 1,000 artists in a given year.
We're seeing interesting trends in the live event industry. Everybody is pushing to be bigger. They want to do something more spectacular this year than they did last year. And so because it is an art form, there's a tremendous amount of unknown. Our artists, they push us. And so when they push, we need to have a team that can deliver globally.
We've always used Cisco switching, WebEx and phones internally. Cisco moving into more of the cloud and collaboration really tied all of those pieces together for us. In our line of business, we always need to get it right the first time, every time. As soon as the gear rolls off the truck in the morning, it needs to roll into place, be plugged in, and everything needs to come up and be working the exact same way that it was the night before, in a city that could be, thousands of miles away.
At Claire, it's important that we boldly advance the live entertainment industry. It has to be lighter, it has to be smaller, it has to be more reliable. Cisco understands that. They're everywhere, we're everywhere, so the partnership just makes sense. And so together, we're able to be flexible, but we're also able to think big. Like I said, it started as a hobby. To us, it's still a hobby. So if you provide the best technology for people who love what they do every day, they're going to succeed, because every day is a good day.
Between setting the stage and owning it, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
The electricity is always there. We don't worry about it. We don't think about it. Never do we think about an attack on the power grid. It is like this all over the world. It is like this in Finland. Turku Energia supplies electricity for hundreds of thousands of people. Because its operations network was independent from IT, an attack could have found its way into the grid and no one would have known, until it was too late. By extending the IT network out to operations, Cisco was able to help secure the entire system, both now and in the future. And with Cisco IoT technology, the new virtually fail-proof system is as reliable as it is secure. One unified network. It's why tonight, in Turku, life will go on like it always has and always will.
Between on and always on, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
For years, we've been hearing about IoT.
Ooh, look, my cat just woke up. Let me put the lights on for her.
It's time to get real. This is about big, industry-changing things, complex things. It's about a network of things that includes this, and these, and that thing, and whatever this is. You've got more data than you can shake a stick at, and that stick generates data too. This is industrial-strength IoT. It connects turbines to power grids, pipeline operations to refineries, first responders to life-saving devices. It's a big challenge, and it makes a difference to our lives. So how do you meet it head-on? Not like this. Like this. Only Cisco can securely connect tens of thousands of assets at the farthest edge of your network to the heart of your business, no matter the scale. With security built in, not bolted on, and a flexible network to grow as your business expands. Now, IT's happy, ops are happy, innovation is accelerated, business is transformed, lives are improved. Between big ideas and big results, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
This is the data center, and it deals with demand. Demand that's coming from anywhere, any place, any device. Billions of things, millions of apps, clouds of all kinds, demands for capacity, for analytics, for real-time insights, giving customers exactly what they want. And it's all landing right here. But that's okay, because you're not just waiting for it. You've got ACI Anywhere, a remote control that gives you the power to answer any need, choose any cloud, manage and secure any demand, right from here. So tell them to bring it on. You're ready, anytime and anywhere. Cisco ACI goes anywhere. Cisco, the bridge to possible. The power is here, and here, but also here, and definitely here. Anywhere you need the full force and power of your infrastructure, hyper-converged. It's like having thousands of data centers, wherever you need them, powering applications anywhere they live, but managed from the cloud. So you can automate everything from here. Cisco HyperFlex goes anywhere. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
Today, every company on the planet is looking at a new reality. One that says that you're no longer tapping into a cloud, you're unleashing its full potential. Adapt to change faster. Connect anyone to anything, anywhere, faster. You want to grow your business? Boom. Here's the thing. This new reality comes with realities of its own. Applications are harder to control, harder to secure. Costs escalate. And ever-increasing complexity, suddenly, you're running out of resources, man. But guess what? Between all the promises and making it happen, there's a bridge. One built on security that isn't an afterthought, but the main thought. Intentional from the start, in the right place at the right time between all your connections. One that lets you deliver applications on time, on any platform for a better experience every time. And one that lets you manage an entire network simply at scale. This is the new reality made real. And the company that invented the network in the first place is now ready to take you to this new place, where the power of the network moves at the speed of the cloud. Wherever you are, wherever you need to go, happens like that. Smarter, deeper, and more flexible than ever. This is SD-WAN. And this is the bridge to get you there.
Cisco, the bridge to possible.
Ever since she was a little girl, Eva has always wanted to help people. So when she started working with Living Goods, she knew she had found more than just a job. Eva travels to some of the most remote villages you can imagine, delivering medicine, giving health advice, and just listening to her patients. Thanks to an app created by Living Goods and its partners, Cisco and Medic Mobile, she has the latest health information at her fingertips and can keep track of every delivery and every person she meets. It gives her time to focus on what she does best, taking care of people. Between making a living and making a difference, there's a bridge.
Cisco, the bridge to possible. National Instruments had a predicament. Bandwidth demands were on the increase. And while growth is good, their IT budget wasn't keeping pace. Not so good. IT needed to deliver more bandwidth to offices around the world while keeping spending under control. That's not so easy. Suddenly, the company that helps engineers accelerate innovation found themselves needing help. Oh, and it needs to be fast, flexible, affordable, and secure too. A tall order, but by no means an impossible one. Not with the decision to turn to us, the people who invented the network in the first place. Using a Cisco SD-WAN solution in Cisco services, we massively increased their bandwidth. Where their budget held them back, we propelled them forward. Now, most companies would be delighted right there, but we went further. Network deployments are faster than ever. And where their old network generated problem tickets faster than anyone could count, the number of WAN-related tickets has decreased 70% in the past year. All of this to prove that between those frozen processes of yours and free-flowing productivity, there's a bridge. Tell us what you're imagining, and we will build the bridge to get you there.
Stel je voor, de eerste zijde uit China. Kruiden uit Indië. Thee, rubber, suiker. Alle rijkdom van de wereld gaan we hier, in deze plaats.
For over 500 years, the lifeblood of commerce has flowed in and out of the port of Rotterdam. Today, it's on a scale and at a speed never before imagined, until now.
There is a lot at stake. We have vessels entering the dangerous cargo. We have very large container carriers. If one gets stuck in the entrance, the entire harbor is jammed. Consequences, safety-wise and economically, are immense if something goes wrong. The logistics are easy, but to make the puzzle work, that is complicated.
Making the puzzle work is a network of sensors spread across the port's 41 square miles, providing terabits of data. 200 calculations a minute. Wind, tides, currents, and visibility to help guide 130,000 ships a year and protect 468 million tons of cargo.
In my function, in my job, the security is the main thing. If we have the right data and the reliability is proven, we can predict what the situation will be 3, 4, 5 hours in advance, and we can plan with that. After careful evaluation and planning, everything is possible in Rotterdam, and that's the thing we are proud of.
The confidence to run Europe's largest port, and one company delivers all that sensor data safely, delivers all that data securely. Between the storied past and a modern efficiency the Dutch would call
ongelooflijk,
there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible. Here's a question. In a world where data goes everywhere, where does that put your data center? At the moment, trends are born, greeting customers with every detail they need. At the point where all your clouds meet and share, but also on watch, securing everything and everyone. In an uncentered world, you need a data center that extends to every branch, every device, every cloud, everywhere. The Cisco data center goes everywhere your data is. Between data everywhere and exactly where you need it, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
There is something unique about a baby's cry. Like no other sound, it stirs our instinct to nurture and protect. Unfortunately, those cries sometimes go unheard. Because in some neonatal wards in Uganda, there isn't enough equipment or staff. Now those cries can be heard with the help of a wearable monitor that displays critical information for each baby, enabling nurses to immediately respond with the proper care. This life-saving technology was developed by Neopenda, a medical device company serving emerging markets and underserved people. Cisco's support helped Neopenda further develop the technology that connects its devices. This is one more example of how Cisco empowers social entrepreneurs to use innovative technology to make the world better. Between a baby's cry and a nurse's care, there's a bridge.
Cisco, the bridge to possible. Between what is hoped for and what can be, there's a bridge. Between the aspirations of a ball club and the greatest sports venue in America, there's a bridge. Between chaos and wonder, endangered and protected, there's a bridge. Built on technology that can solve, create, heal, inspire, and secure. A bridge. There from the beginning to where we stand today, and where we will go from here. One company, one promise. If you can imagine it, we will build the bridge to get you there. Cisco. The bridge to possible.
I was really good in math and physics. So that was my favorite subject since high school. That's actually how I ended up in engineering. My name is Alphonsine Imaniraguha. I am a consulting engineer at Cisco in the US. But I was born in Rwanda. It was April 6th, 1994. That night, we heard like a loud explosion in the sky. We rushed to listen to our radio, and we learned that President of Rwanda, that his plane was shut down. That was the beginning of the genocide. I was 13 years old. I remember just hiding in the bushes, not sleeping at home at night. My dad was like, hide here, I'm going to find another place where we can safely all hide. As soon as my dad left, we immediately overheard the group of militiamen say that they just killed him. I didn't feel the ground. I didn't feel the air around me. There was no wind. There was no sun. I was already dead. Eventually, I found my 3 younger siblings. They were in the orphanage. At that point, I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but my life has a meaning. Just watching how one person could make a big difference, I started on my nonprofit, Rising Above the Storms. We work with the homeless kids. We help them go back to school. I could have ended on the street. I could have been one of them, and just seeing them actually dreaming, it gives me hope. Doesn't matter how you do it, make it a goal to change one life. Seeing how Cisco has enabled me to do something I love so much, I can't imagine a better feeling in this life.
Between survival and inspiration, there's Alphonsine Imaniraguha. As in so many cities, for Kyoto, tourism is a very big deal. But tourism means people, and with so many of them, the city had its hands full. Kyoto didn't just have to get better at managing them all, it had to get smarter. And with Cisco's help, that's exactly what happened. Strategically located smart kiosks now connect tourists with a concierge who can steer them to less congested attractions. So crowds are more evenly distributed. Smart street lighting monitors foot traffic, automatically controls brightness when and where it's needed most, and pinpoints outages in real time, so repairs can be made faster. And with special terminals monitoring multiple cameras, data can be compared simultaneously, making the city safer than ever before. As for the people of Kyoto and the millions of tourists who visit every year, they have just one thing to say about their new smart city. We can't wait to see what's next. Between ancient and smart, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
This business started 53 years ago as a hobby, and it still is a hobby to everyone that works here. It started with audio, they added lights, and it was sound and lights for quite a while. They added video, lasers, pyrotechnica, they added automation.
Currently, right now, as we roll into the summer, we have about 350 tours happening. We support around 1,000 artists in a given year.
We're seeing interesting trends in the live event industry. Everybody is pushing to be bigger. They want to do something more spectacular this year than they did last year. And so because it is an art form, there's a tremendous amount of unknown. Our artists, they push us. And so when they push, we need to have a team that can deliver globally.
We've always used Cisco switching, WebEx and phones internally. Cisco moving into more of the cloud and collaboration really tied all of those pieces together for us. In our line of business, we always need to get it right the first time, every time. As soon as the gear rolls off the truck in the morning, it needs to roll into place, be plugged in, and everything needs to come up and be working the exact same way that it was the night before, in a city that could be, thousands of miles away.
At Claire, it's important that we boldly advance the live entertainment industry. It has to be lighter, it has to be smaller, it has to be more reliable. Cisco understands that. They're everywhere, we're everywhere, so the partnership just makes sense. And so together, we're able to be flexible, but we're also able to think big. Like I said, it started as a hobby. To us, it's still a hobby. So if you provide the best technology for people who love what they do every day, they're going to succeed, because every day is a good day.
Between setting the stage and owning it, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
The electricity is always there. We don't worry about it. We don't think about it. Never do we think about an attack on the power grid. It is like this all over the world. It is like this in Finland. Turku Energia supplies electricity for hundreds of thousands of people. Because its operations network was independent from IT, an attack could have found its way into the grid and no one would have known, until it was too late. By extending the IT network out to operations, Cisco was able to help secure the entire system, both now and in the future. And with Cisco IoT technology, the new virtually fail-proof system is as reliable as it is secure, one unified network. It's why tonight in Turku, Life will go on like it always has and always will.
Between on and always on, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
For years, we've been hearing about IoT.
Ooh, look, my cat just woke up. Let me put the lights on for her.
It's time to get real. This is about big industry-changing things, complex things. It's about a network of things that includes this, and these, and that thing, and whatever this is. You've got more data than you can shake a stick at, and that stick generates data too. This is industrial-strength IoT. It connects turbines to power grids, pipeline operations to refineries, first responders to life-saving devices. It's a big challenge, and it makes a difference to our lives. So how do you meet it head-on? Not like this. Like this. Only Cisco can securely connect tens of thousands of assets at the farthest edge of your network to the heart of your business, no matter the scale. With security built in, not bolted on, and a flexible network to grow as your business expands. Now, IT's happy, ops are happy, innovation is accelerated, business is transformed, lives are improved. Between big ideas and big results, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
This is the data center, and it deals with demand. Demand that's coming from anywhere, any place, any device. Billions of things, millions of apps, clouds of all kinds, demands for capacity, for analytics, for real-time insights, giving customers exactly what they want. And it's all landing right here. But that's okay, because you're not just waiting for it. You've got ACI Anywhere, a remote control that gives you the power to answer any need, choose any cloud, manage and secure any demand right from here. So tell them to bring it on. You're ready, anytime, anywhere. Cisco ACI goes anywhere. Cisco, the bridge to possible. The power is here, and here, but also here, and definitely here. Anywhere you need the full force and power of your infrastructure, hyper-converged. It's like having thousands of data centers, wherever you need them, powering applications anywhere they live, but managed from the cloud. So you can automate everything from here. Cisco HyperFlex goes anywhere. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
Today, every company on the planet is looking at a new reality. When it says that you're no longer tapping into a cloud, you're unleashing its full potential. Adapt to change faster. Connect anyone to anything, anywhere, faster. You want to grow your business? Boom. But here's the thing. This new reality comes with realities of its own. Applications are harder to control, harder to secure. Costs escalate. And ever-increasing complexity, suddenly, you're running out of resources, man. But guess what? Between all the promises and making it happen, there's a bridge. One built on security that isn't an afterthought, but the main thought. Intentional from the start, in the right place at the right time between all your connections. One that lets you deliver applications on time, on any platform for a better experience every time. And one that lets you manage an entire network simply at scale. This is the new reality made real. And the company that invented the network in the first place is now ready to take you to this new place, where the power of the network moves at the speed of the cloud. Wherever you are, wherever you need to go happens like that. Smarter, deeper, and more flexible than ever. This is SD-WAN. And this is the bridge to get you there.
Cisco, the bridge to possible.
Ever since she was a little girl, Eva has always wanted to help people. So when she started working with living goods, she knew she had found more than just a job. Eva travels to some of the most remote villages you can imagine, delivering medicine, giving health advice, and just listening to her patients. Thanks to an app created by Living Goods and its partners, Cisco and Medic Mobile, she has the latest health information at her fingertips. and can keep track of every delivery and every person she meets. It gives her time to focus on what she does best, taking care of people. Between making a living and making a difference, there's a bridge.
Cisco, the bridge to possible. National Instruments had a predicament. Bandwidth demands were on the increase. And while growth is good, their IT budget wasn't keeping pace. Not so good. IT needed to deliver more bandwidth to offices around the world while keeping spending under control. That's not so easy. Suddenly, the company that helps engineers accelerate innovation found themselves needing help. Oh, and it needs to be fast, flexible, affordable, and secure too. A tall order, but by no means an impossible one. Not with the decision to turn to us, the people who invented the network in the first place. Using a Cisco SD-WAN solution in Cisco services, we massively increased their bandwidth. Where their budget held them back, we propelled them forward. Now, most companies would be delighted right there, but we went further. Network deployments are faster than ever. And where their old network generated problem tickets faster than anyone could count, the number of WAN-related tickets has decreased 70% in the past year. All of this to prove that between those frozen processes of yours and free-flowing productivity, there's a bridge. Tell us what you're imagining, and we will build the bridge to get you there.
Stel je voor, de eerste zijde uit China. Kruiden uit Indië. Thee, rubber, suiker. Al de rijkdom van de wereld gaan we hier, in deze plaats.
For over 500 years, the lifeblood of commerce has flowed in and out of the port of Rotterdam. Today, it's on a scale and at a speed never before imagined, until now.
There is a lot at stake. We have vessels entering the dangerous cargo. We have very large container carriers. If one gets stuck in the entrance, the entire harbor is jammed. Consequences, safety-wise and economically, are immense if something goes wrong. The logistics are easy, but to make the puzzle work, that is complicated.
Making the puzzle work is a network of sensors spread across the port's 41 square miles, providing terabits of data. 200 calculations a minute. Wind, tides, currents, and visibility to help guide 130,000 ships a year and protect 468 million tons of cargo.
In my function, in my job, the security is the main thing. If we have the right data and the reliability is proven, we can predict what the situation will be 3, 4, 5 hours in advance, and we can plan with that. After careful evaluation and planning, everything is possible in Rotterdam, and that's the thing we are proud of.
The confidence to run Europe's largest port, and one company delivers all that sensor data safely, delivers all that data securely. Between the storied past and a modern efficiency the Dutch would call
ongelooflijk,
there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible. Here's a question. In a world where data goes everywhere, where does that put your data center? At the moment, trends are born, greeting customers with every detail they need. At the point where all your clouds meet and share, but also on watch, securing everything and everyone. In an uncentered world, you need a data center that extends to every branch, every device, every cloud, everywhere. The Cisco Data Center goes everywhere your data is. Between data everywhere and exactly where you need it, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
There is something unique about a baby's cry. Like no other sound, it stirs our instinct to nurture and protect. Unfortunately, those cries sometimes go unheard. Because in some neonatal wards in Uganda, there isn't enough equipment or staff. Now those cries can be heard with the help of a wearable monitor that displays critical information for each baby, enabling nurses to immediately respond with the proper care. This life-saving technology was developed by Neopenda, a medical device company serving emerging markets and underserved people. Cisco's support helped Neopenda further develop the technology that connects its devices. This is one more example of how Cisco empowers social entrepreneurs to use innovative technology to make the world better. Between a baby's cry and a nurse's care, there's a bridge.
Cisco, the bridge to possible. Between what is hoped for and what can be, there's a bridge. Between the aspirations of a ball club and the greatest sports venue in America, there's a bridge. Between chaos and wonder, endangered and protected, there's a bridge. Built on technology that can solve, create, heal, inspire, and secure. A bridge. There from the beginning to where we stand today, and where we will go from here. One company, one promise. If you can imagine it, we will build the bridge to get you there. Cisco. The bridge to possible.
Good morning and hello. It gives me great pleasure to present the Cisco Live virtual show to you. Now, this is a very special event because for the first time ever, we're broadcasting the keynote address delivered at Cisco Live US in San Diego. We can't wait to share the latest and greatest that we've announced at Cisco Live US with you. Now in its 30th year, Cisco Live is our marquee annual customer and partner conference, designed to build the foundation for our digital future by educating, connecting, and inspiring current and future generations about the possibility of technology. In the next 2 hours, we'll share with you the keynote address delivered by our CEO, Chuck Robbins, together with our global engineering leaders, David Geckler and Amy Chang, and our customer experience leader, Maria Martinez. They'll share Cisco's vision for the future and unveil new innovation that will transform our industry, businesses, and the way we work. So, without further ado, let's watch the keynote.
Welcome to Cisco Live. The first Cisco Live, it wasn't called Cisco Live, it was called Networkers. And it occurred in 1989. Does anyone recognize that sound? It might take a while to connect, you remember? So just bear with me. Think about where you were in 1989. I know where I was. I was working for a bank, and I had been the most amazing COBOL programmer you've ever seen, so much so that they moved me into a new job after 2 years. And then I was working on these networking devices that were coming into play. We called them multi-protocol routers at the time. But 1989, 65% of the music that was sold were on tapes. We can let you decide if it was 8 tracks or cassettes. The first HD TV broadcast in Japan in 1989, it was a product that came out called the Game Boy. Remember that one? Hey, you still have one? I love it. And a game called Tetris. When you think about the technology that we loved in 1989, and I can remember that was sort of when we transitioned from dialing into bulletin boards to dialing into AOL, right? To where we are today, and we've all been a part of it. Think about banking today. For some younger people in the room, branches don't make a lot of sense. For many of us, we actually used to go to them. And now everything that you need to do from a financial services perspective, you can do on this massive computer that you carry in your pocket. Go through any industry, retail. We used to go to malls. Think about healthcare and how surgeons are now delivering healthcare and helping assist with remote surgery, leveraging video. We can now deliver healthcare into rural parts of emerging countries all around the world through the use of this technology. The same for education. Think about how things have changed. And the point is how critical technology has become to the world in general. And we talked about the fact that we were going to bring automation to networking. And people were confused about what does that mean to all of us? What does that mean to our jobs? And organizations today are saying that technology is moving so rapidly and there's such tight integration between everything from applications to infrastructure. I need different skills. I need skills that understand both. Right? Organizations are concerned. We struggle to find the talent we need. I was watching CNBC this morning. There were other companies talking about the need for more engineering talent, more technology talent. So the good news is you're in the right place. But we're also thinking about how we help in that area as well. And as we think about our strategy, everything that we do is influenced by our discussions with you. Everything that we do. We understand that you are building and delivering more applications to your organization than you ever have before. And we understand that they're running anywhere and everywhere. And the demand your users have on you relative to those applications are at the highest level they ever have been. So we want to deliver technologies like ACI and App Dynamics and things that help you because we understand that the application is the closest layer of your technology to the business issue or the business opportunity that you're trying to drive. And your data. The data is one of the most critical assets you have. Protecting the data, getting the insights from the data. There's some research that would suggest that we actually are getting insights from less than 1% of the data that we create as organizations. So we want to help you do more. You're going to hear some stuff from David today about some of the technology we're going to try to bring to help you gather insights out of the networks. Because as you've heard me joke a few years ago, we've always said the network sees everything, and we think it's time we actually give you that visibility. And the teams have been working really hard, and you're going to see some of that today. We've talked about security, 20 billion threats a day, an attack every 39 seconds. Everything we do in security has been about building to the architecture that you need today, not the architecture that you needed 5 years ago. Our teams have been focused on building this security architecture for the cloud world that we live in today. And your infrastructure needed to be modernized. Right? As much as we all love command line interface, we probably needed to give you a more efficient way of doing networking, giving you the ability to program, giving you the ability to see analytics coming out of the infrastructure, modernizing that infrastructure. And we stood on the stage at Cisco Live 2 years ago because I knew from the first day I took over that there was more innovation yet to be driven in core networking. And we stood on stage 2 years ago at Cisco Live and announced intent-based networking. And the teams have continued to build more and more and more innovation on top of that. And then now we're talking about how do we get more out of our teams? How do we make our teams more productive? How do we enable them to work more effectively together? How do we engage with our external teams, our partners, more effectively? This has become a core element of every company's technology strategy. How do I interface and communicate with my customers more effectively? Because intimacy, speed of response, simplicity of interaction determines where your customers stay and where they go. How many of you love sitting on hold for 90 seconds or 2 minutes? You may have more patience than I do, but I hang up after about 3.2 seconds. We need to find ways to interact much more effectively. And these are the things that we're focused on. There's not an investment that we're making that doesn't fit within one of these categories that you care about. We've delivered intent-based networking. If you look at this portfolio that's up here on the stage, never before in the history of Cisco have we had a completely refreshed portfolio of campus switches, along with a completely refreshed set of Wi-Fi access points, with a completely refreshed set of routing products with SD-WAN, all running one operating system at the same time, all part of the intent-based networking automation architecture. The teams have done an amazing job. We talk about multi-cloud and the fact that all of you are dealing with this complexity of managing all these different cloud applications that your teams are trying to use. We know that we talked for a long time about the fact that early on the cloud was supposed to simplify your life because it was one place and you were just going to move everything there and everything was going to be easy. Turned out not to be that way. Right? Multiple SaaS providers, multiple cloud providers, still have a lot of private applications running. All of a sudden we have edge computing and IoT devices emerging everywhere. And so technologies like SD-WAN and our multi-cloud portfolio, and we'll talk a little more about some of the things we're doing in that area. In the data center, helping you deal with this cloud transition by extending ACI into the cloud, taking HyperFlex to the edge. The IoT portfolio that Liz and the team have been building, all of the industrial networking products that you need first and foremost, and the security that you need with IoT. And then we talked about Wi-Fi 6. I'll tell you a funny story. My team first started talking to me about Wi-Fi 6. I said, what is Wi-Fi 6? They said 802.11ax. I said, oh, okay, I get it now. So we just changed the name to confuse Chuck. That's what it was. But this new technology in conjunction with 5G, have you guys heard of 5G? I'm just curious. There's an occasional article written about it. What our teams announced last year at Mobile World, there's so much confusion in the marketplace about 5G. Security and the incredible work that Amy and the team have done with cognitive collaboration that we're going to give you insight to tomorrow if you haven't seen it. But as we think about the world that you're all dealing with, this multi-cloud world that's out there, in the past, when you had this really nice network architecture where you had branches and mobile users that were generating traffic that was destined for your private data center, life was simple. And we did a great job providing connectivity. Now it's not that simple. You have those same branches, those same mobile users, and they're initiating traffic that's going to any one of 100 different places, and next week it could be a different 100, and the week after that a different 100, and you need a different architecture. And as IoT explodes and you look at edge computing, the only technology asset that is common across all of that is the network. So the network will continue to need to do more for you, which means that everything that you do every day gets more and more and more important. Dealing with security and cost and speed and simplicity, and giving you the opportunity to actually build this new architecture that you need that can accommodate data originating at the edge of your networks and moving to any application, anywhere, for any user, and your network will accommodate that. And that's where everybody in this room needs to get to. And we're also aware that this is not a problem that we're foreshadowing 5 years from now. This is a problem that we're all facing today. So we are working hard on accelerating our innovation to make sure we can deliver the solutions that you need to deal with this challenge, because I believe, and I'm older than most of you, just for the record, so this is based on experience. I started messing with routers in 1989, and I don't think we've seen as big an architectural shift in the wide area networks that you deal with since we moved from point-to-point networks to frame relay. How many people were around when that happened? You remember? This is massive, and it disrupts your security architecture, it disrupts your wide area architecture, it disrupts all the traffic flows that you actually knew were so predictable. It's all gone. The good news is, together, we're going to build this architecture over the next several years. We have everything coming at us from continued explosion of IoT, virtual reality, augmented reality. These are all technologies that are going to continue to infiltrate everything we do every day. And as customers and as organizations, those of you who really understand how to harness the right technologies at the right time, right? Sometimes you can be too early. But making sure you're staying close enough to this so that you know which technologies make sense and when they're mature enough for you to make significant impact with some of these new technology areas. And it just so happens that we have one customer, as we think about a lot of the technologies like virtualization and cloud and potentially 5G down the road, there's one customer we've been working with who made the decision with us that the time was right. And I'd like to give you a little preview of the work that we've been doing with a customer in Japan called Rakuten.
I have a lot of ambitious dreams, like making the best tea in Japan and sharing it with the rest of the world.
This is Namiki Ishiyama. She grows tea with her family in Ibaraki Prefecture, Japan, on their farm established in 1871. Namiki sells her family's tea online at the marketplace created by Rakuten, a global leader in internet services. Namiki's ambitious dreams may come true sooner than she thinks, because the world is about to change. Rakuten has partnered with Cisco to do something that has never been done before, to build a new mobile network, cloud-based, fully virtualized, and optimized for the coming 5G revolution. This is Tarek Amin, CTO at Rakuten Mobile.
My belief is this platform is going to change everything.
This is 5G. More data, more power, new tools we can't yet imagine, artificial intelligence in the palm of our hand.
Making connectivity affordable. I think Rakuten and Cisco is going to do that, and that's going to change the ecosystem of telecommunication in this country and across the world.
What will 5G mean to Namiki's tea business? Rakuten and its partner Cisco are excited to find out.
My husband and I are 6th generation tea farmers. My son will be the 7th generation. That is my dream.
Between tradition and transformation, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
So if you would please join me in welcoming David Geckler.
2 years ago, we were on stage here and we had just launched the Network Intuitive. We talked about reinventing networking. So that's a big statement if you're Cisco. You're going to reinvent networking. As Chuck said, started back in 1989. And look at what this conference has grown to. 150 people to thousands. And we're going to reinvent networking. And I think that's what we've done over the last several years. But you've seen the number of releases we've had, the number of new products we've released. And as we've thought through how we're going to build networking this time around, we've got to solve some different problems. All right, we've still got to connect users to applications, but we've got to figure out how to automate the network. We've got to figure out how to make it more secure, more agile, how to get the costs out of it, make it easier to operate. Basically, make it what Chuck talked about. Fundamental underpinning of what's going to drive the outcomes for everybody's business. And as we thought through how to build networking in that environment, we had to think about things are a little different than 1989. We're not in the dial-up world anymore. The problem we have to solve, and all of you have to solve for your business, we're connecting users to applications. And if we think about that problem in the modern world, both sides of the network have changed dramatically since back in the 80s when this technology was first developed. On the user side of the network, mobility has come in. Chuck talked about Wi-Fi. We're already up to 5G and Wi-Fi 6. Mobility, number of devices. Users want to access whatever application on whatever device they're on whatever their network they're on. If they're on your network, if they're at a coffee shop, if they're here at the conference, whatever network they're on, they still want to access every application. And that's constantly changing. What network you're on, what device you're on, this is always changing. And on the application side of the network, right, that's where we talk about the cloud. All the applications are going to the cloud. Except it's not that simple. Now the applications are everywhere. They're in the cloud, there's SaaS providers, there's private cloud, there's just applications at the edge. Applications are everywhere and they change all the time. So what we now have, we have this dynamic environment. Users and devices constantly changing, applications and data constantly changing. So how do we solve that problem? How do we build networking technology to solve that world? That's what we started thinking through the entire portfolio. We have to re-architect the entire portfolio for the world we live in today. Every what I call networking domain, from IoT and OT to the campus, branch, data center, security, the cloud, service provider, all of it is being rethought. There's an enormous amount of innovation in each part of the network to basically drive the simplicity that all of us need to solve this equation of users, devices, applications, and data. Over the last 2 years, we've been bringing out technology to build this multi-domain, intent-based network, where we're going to connect any user on any device, on any network, to any application. And we're going to do that securely. That's the network we're building. So what I thought I'd do here to start, before we jump into all of the innovation that's going on in different parts of the network, let's give an example of how this is coming into focus. And let's use a use case that is something that gets talked about a lot. A lot of you are thinking about this. A lot of you are implementing this in different parts of your network. End-to-end segmentation. When I talk about segmentation, I don't just mean segmentation of the data center or segmentation of the access network. Segmentation all the way from the user to the application. So to help walk me through this, Carl Solder, who is a VP of Technical Marketing, is going to join me on stage. You're at like the epicenter of the deployment of intent-based networking. So you've probably been involved in thousands of deployments of this technology.
We are.
It's an exciting time to be in networking.
It is an exciting time.
All right, so walk us through this use case of end-to-end segmentation and how this works across the whole portfolio now.
Will do. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to introduce the 3 domains that are going to form part of our demo. On the left-hand side, we have our software-defined access domain, which onboards our users, devices, and things into the network. On the right-hand side, we have our ACI domain, which connects us to our applications and data sets in the cloud or in the data center. And for the purpose of this demo, David, we've got the SD-WAN domain in the middle that's going to connect our users to our applications.
Okay, so we got our campus, we've got the branch, we've got the data center, all three domains. And isn't it interesting now, here we are, a couple of years on, we have software-defined access in the campus, we have the software-defined WAN, and of course we have ACI, software-defined data center. Remember the time when software-defined networking was going to kill Cisco?
Yes, I do.
Didn't quite work out that way, did it?
I do. Everything's
Here we
software
are.
now.
So now the whole thing is software-defined, and once you get it software-defined, now the fun starts.
Now the magic starts. So the purpose of this demonstration is to show how these domains work better together. And this is facilitated through our domain controllers. We have Cisco DNA Center, we have vManage, and we have APIC. And each of these has been finely tuned and optimized to manage their respective domains.
Okay, so you made an interesting point there, because people ask me this sometimes. Why don't you just build one controller to rule them all, like for the everything and like a whole network? And as a computer scientist, that just doesn't work very well, because there's specific things you need to do in each domain, and you manage that, and then we start to go up and connect them together. So that's what you're going to start talking about.
That's right. So through this demonstration, we're going to show how these domain controllers work better together, exchanging configuration state and insights to basically make the management of that end-to-end network much easier for our customers. So the use case we're going to use to get started is quite simply an authorized user who needs to access a payroll application. We're going to show how multi-domain comes together to make this whole management easier. We're going to zoom into our ACI domain, into our API controller, and we're going to see that we have our Acme payroll application already predefined. Now, in ACI terms, we call this an endpoint group. And what's going to happen is that the APIC controller will take that and exchange that with the Cisco DNA Center, negating the need for the administrator to have to go recreate that in the SD access domain.
Okay, so we create an endpoint group in the data center with ACI. We know how that's all automated in the data center. Now that's automatically transmitted over to the access domain into DNA Center. So it picks up that information, and what does it do with it?
All right, so what we're going to do is with that information, you'll see the Acme payroll that's been learned. We're going to create an end-to-end application access control policy. So the way we do this is we start by giving it the policy a name. We're going to add a contract, and the contract basically allows us to allow the user to access the payroll application. We choose permit here, click on OK. Then we're going to choose our Acme payroll application.
And that's the endpoint group that came over from the data center.
And then we have 3 user groups, accounting, auditors, and payroll clerks, which is the other end of the conversation. We enable bidirectional conversation between the two, and we click Save.
Okay, now this is, when you say you click Save, what's interesting there is now we're going to configure hundreds or even thousands of networking devices all across the enterprise for that policy.
Correct.
Right, so no going anymore. Chuck loves CLI, but we're all moving on. It's still important, but here, when we talk about automation and consistency and security, we can drive that policy across hundreds or thousands of networking devices with a simple click, and we have that consistency across the entire enterprise.
Consistency is key, David.
Okay.
All right, so now we have this policy created. What happens? We have a user who connects to the network.
Yep.
They get authenticated, and Cisco DNA will assign that policy to that user. Now, the user wants to connect to the payroll application, so they open up the laptop, type in the URL, and they hit the enter button, and that data request starts to get sent. Now, at this point, the network intercepts that data request, and it tags that data request, and seamlessly, as we transition that data across the domains, we keep that policy intact so that ACI can use that to determine if we want to allow the user to access the application. In this case, we want to allow it.
Okay, so it goes all the way down to the bits on the wire. The packets are tagged. They're carried all the way across. When they show up in the data center, the policy is there, and then ACI knows what to do as far as how we allow access to that.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's keep going. Let's look at this web.
All right. So now we've actually completed the first half of our demo. We've gone from the user to the application, but we now need to deliver the application data back to the user in a prioritized manner, because after all, it's a business-critical application.
Okay, so this is where the WAN comes in.
Correct, this is where the WAN comes in. So we're going to zoom into our ACI domain, and in our API controller setup, we have a contract set up. And this contract, when we zoom in, we can see that it's assigning a high priority to deliver that application data back to the user. Now, we're calling that contract SD-WAN, and we need to associate it to our application. So you can see here, we have a relationship already set up. The Acme Payroll application is going to be using the SD-WAN contract with the high priority to be sent back to the user. All right? So now what we see is that the APIC controller will exchange this information with vManage.
Yep. Okay.
All right? Now, vManage is going to take those constructs and systematically program that across all of the WAN devices in the SD-WAN domain.
Okay, so again, once you have a software-defined WAN, you get the policy there, and then all of the sites around the world get provisioned with that same policy.
And what will happen is that the SD-WAN domain will then recognize that data and place the data automatically into the business-critical queue, keeping the integrity of the priority as we send the data
so you're basically taking that policy, you're putting a QoS on it all the way across the WAN, so we make sure the individual gets their payroll information.
We do.
Okay.
So what we've basically shown here is a closed loop of how we're bringing these domains and starting to have them work better together, because ultimately, David, this is the first step of a multi-step journey where we're going to be bringing these domains together to truly have them work as a single entity, as one.
Okay, great, Carl. So last question. Is this just a little animation we showed here, or is this real product?
No, these are innovations that are going to be coming out in the next couple of months.
Okay, next couple of months. So if you have this technology deployed in your infrastructure, you can start to put together use cases like this and automate all the way from the user all the way to the application across the entire network.
Yes, you can.
All right, fantastic.
All right.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, David.
All right.
Take care.
All right, so we wanted to give you a little example of this architecture is becoming very real. We talked about this a couple years ago about how we're bringing software-defined networking, how we're changing each domain for this integrated architecture. And every release of the product is getting more real, and we're building this architecture across the entire infrastructure so we can connect any user to any application, and we have all the pieces across the entire portfolio to do that. All right, let's jump into innovation within each domain. So we're going to start, so it's important to do both. It's not just about tying everything together. We also got to continue to drive innovation in each part of the network, and we're going to start in the access network, the campus network, and Scott Harrell is going to come up and tell us unbelievable work that's going on there.
First, I want to start by talking about the campus of the future. When David talks about reinventing networking, how are we doing that for the campus? Well, really, for the campus, it comes in the form of we want to provide an unplugged and uninterrupted experience. And what that means is that we're going to have a network that's wireless first, that's cloud-driven, and it's data optimized. And we're going to tell you a little bit about how we're actually improving that, and we're making that even simpler and more powerful and smarter as we go forward. But I want to start with talking about wireless, because certainly the campus of the future is wireless first, and there is so much in the industry right now about 5G and Wi-Fi 6. I want to talk about how it matters to you. So when you think about these new technologies, they bring about a couple of key things. Number one is they bring more bandwidth, which everybody needs. They bring lower latency. They bring more deterministic scheduling. What this means is now your wireless network is going to be able to support things that it never could before. Things like AR and VR. More machines can now be put on the wireless network and not just the wired network. And that really opens up the opportunity for the network to start to do things that it couldn't do before. And the reality is it's not going to be a 5G or Wi-Fi 6 world. It's going to be a world where both are critical, where you're going to use 5G outdoors and you're going to use Wi-Fi 6 indoors. And what's exciting is we've actually released a whole new set of Wi-Fi 6 APs, the Catalyst 9100 as well as the Meraki MR45 and 55. And those are available today. But that doesn't stop there. What we've done over the last few years, the last 2 years to be precise, is we've actually reinvented the entire portfolio. As Chuck said, we actually went through everything we made and we redid it. We brought out the Catalyst 9100, the 9200, the 9300, the 9400, the 9500, the 9600, and the 9800. All new, all in the last 2 years. And today, we actually released the newest member. The Catalyst 9300L is now orderable and available if you want that as well. A full new suite of technology to empower this wireless first world. And we didn't just stop at the hardware. We rebuilt the ASIC so that there's a single ASIC across this entire switching family, so that you can bring that system approach to this series. We also rebuilt the OS. We brought a single modern OS across route switch wireless. And this is what it takes to deliver the campus of the future. When you want to deliver the campus of the future, you need all of this. A single modern OS and a single fleet of equipment that's built from the ground up for this new world. The single modern OS is open and it's programmable. It supports things like netconf and Yang. It's resilient and secure. It can be hot patched. It can be run on-prem or it can be hosted in the cloud in places like AWS and Azure and GCP. And it's open to support third-party apps. This is what it means to be a new modern OS. And when you think about these new platforms of the future, it's not enough that they're just a modern platform. We've also innovated at the controller layer. We mentioned the term DNA center. This is the controller that runs this entire family as a single system and allows you to manage this much more simply. And what we're excited to announce today, and what we're going to show you in just a few minutes, is new capability for this portfolio that leverages the latest in AI capabilities to make this even smarter and simpler to use. And this is really important because the world today, as David said, is getting more complex. When you look at a campus network, you have more users, more devices than ever hitting that campus network. And we have to continuously simplify what we've done. And even though we simplified the world using DNA Center as a controller, there's more to always be done. And this is where AI can come in, is it can help provide a machine assist to offload that human limitation that is there from a scale point of view. And to help me talk more about this, I actually want to bring up a Cisco fellow. And if you don't know what Cisco fellows are, there's only 19 of these in the company, and you're going to be privileged to hear from 2 of them today. Out of 30,000 plus engineers, this is the elite of our Cisco engineering team. This particular individual has over 600 patents to his name. Please join me in welcome to the stage, Dr. JP Vasseur.
Today we are revealing our machine learning platform at Cisco. We've been working on it for several years. So, the machine learning journey always starts with data. It's about high volume of data. It's also about high diversity of data. We're gathering data from multiple sources, thanks to our wireless controllers, access points, routers, and switches. But this is not enough. You need to have high quality data as well. And so we're using a plethora of technologies to improve the quality and remove noise from the data. Now, what are we going to do with the data? We send it to the cloud, and we send the data through our strong anonymization engine because we care about data privacy. And now what do? We are combining deep understanding of machine learning AI, we've been building at Cisco for many years, with 35 years of networking expertise. And you need both. You cannot just expect to have a wonderful outcome based on a huge amount of data if you don't understand the use case. You don't come up with what we call objective function. You don't do noise removal from the data.
Why do we have such a differentiated set of data? What makes the data that Cisco can bring to bear on this problem so special?
So the data quality is absolutely critical, as you said, but we're gathering the data from our own ASICs and through the number of APIs we have to our code as well.
Okay.
So now we are using a number of technologies, supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning, convolutional neural networks, and stuff like that. We're combining some of them actually to serve some different use cases. And what I'd like to say as well is that we now have a platform that can learn, that can detect some anomalies, that can do prediction about the network. But now I'd like to walk you through an actual use case. So here, this is, by the way, guys, this is not fake. This is the real data. So what you see is that...
This is a real data set that you're showing up on
so
screen.
we're gathering some data from multiple networks. You see that we're trying to predict the throughput on a wireless network. And you see that the prediction is getting better and better. And we're looking at hundreds of dimensions. This is a very complex problem to do. Now what we do with DNA Center, we monitor the throughput on the wireless network. And as you can see, we can detect the anomalies on the network. And we can also do the root causing as well, because it's always easy to do anomaly detection. It's very hard to do root causing.
So JP, just make sure we've got this. So the green represents what we've learned is the normal behavior for a network. And historically, for things like DNA Center and DNA Assurance, we would have set static thresholds, and we would have triggered alarms when you violated a static threshold. But here, what we're saying is, hey, listen, sometimes my network, it happens to go up or down in different directions, and I only want to see alarms when it's abnormal. And that's what the little red dots represent, right?
That's exactly right.
So what's the thumb do then?
This is a very neat feature. And this is also what you do when you like a song, for example. Yeah. And this is the perfect analogy, I believe, because you basically give the feedback to the platform so that we keep improving the relevancy of anomalies based on your feedback.
Excellent. So this means that everybody benefits from kind of this global learning aspect. You know, I think, JP, this is like amazingly impressive technology that we're going to bring out. But what do you see next? Like, how are we going to use this perhaps in the future? And this is clearly a platform. It's not just a single, instance.
Absolutely. So we use the term platform because we have designed, a deep platform, basically, to support many use cases in the future. So we usually don't talk about future work, but because you're asking, we have many use cases. So one of them that I'd like to maybe talk a little bit about is SD-WAN. So we're using machine learning to do performance analysis and comparison of internet versus MPLS. We are detecting seasonal SLA violation. We're doing application heat map. And we are working on predictive routing, which will allow us to predict the failure of tunnels in SD-WAN. And this is just the very beginning of a super exciting journey.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate it so much, JP. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you.
For JP, this is the culmination of a lot of years of work. And I think what's important, though, is that we actually show you how this will work. And so to help me do that, I actually want to bring up the person who leads this whole entire portfolio for Cisco from a product management point of view. Please join me in welcoming Sachin Gupta.
There's probably a lot of network engineers out there wondering, do I now need to become a data scientist? Go back and become a mathematician?
It's a little late for some of us to go back to college, especially Chuck,
So everyone's wondering, how do I make use of this, right? What's the so what here? The great news is it's all in Cisco DNA Center, right? So if customers have been buying the DNA Advantage subscription, it's available right through that subscription. Should we go take a look?
I think that's awesome. Let's do it.
All right. So the first thing I want to do is catch everyone up. Right? We've been putting out a lot of innovation in Cisco DNA Center over the last 18 months, and I want to make sure we're caught up on the existing capabilities before we get into the new AI/ML technology.
So this is already shipping. This is what you can do with DNA Assurance today.
That's exactly right. So this is the Assurance homepage. You can see, my network devices seem healthy, wireless clients seem to be having a bit of an issue, and applications seem to be having a bit of an issue. All right, so we're going to get into some of the details here. Looks like network devices, again, look good. Some things going on the access points. Again, wireless clients having a bit of trouble. I can similarly, already, with all of that data that DNA Center has access to, look at the application health. Looks like some business-relevant applications are not performing well. I can go through all of this data, try and make sense of what the issue is, how do I get to the root cause, and all of this is available at my fingertips. Now, very recently, we added a client packet capture capability. So what this says is if you're trying to onboard onto Wi-Fi and you have some kind of failure, it automatically does a packet capture for you, and it tracks where you were, which AP you were trying to connect to, and what issue exactly you ran into.
That's super powerful. So I don't have to actually anticipate when there's going to be a failure. The system will automatically do a packet capture when it detects a degradation in the Wi-Fi experience.
Right. Previously, what you would be doing is you'd be like, hey, can you please reproduce the issue? Please try to connect again. Let me try and do a capture with a probe or something.
Manual,
very
manual. Hard to actually replicate.
And very costly, right? And so now you can get all kinds of details here. The packets coming from the access point, the replies from the client, and this is particularly an EAP issue where the client is not responding. All right. This is all there today.
Well, that's great, but we're here at Cisco Live to talk about what's coming next. So maybe we can move into the AI piece.
All right, so I'm going to switch over here quickly and go to, this is a preview now, all right? This is expected in the 1.4 version, starting in the 1.4 version, coming out in a few months, in about August, okay?
About August, okay.
All right, so this is the issue screen, and you can see there's total 34 open issues, and in that you have this new button called AI Driven. So if we click on this, it filters these 34 issues down to just 2. So these are what the machine recognizes through the models that JP talked about that are most relevant, most important for your specific environment.
For a particular customer's environment.
For a particular customer environment at that time. Okay? So let's look at the first one, which is drop in cloud application throughput. Okay? So I'm just going to click on here. It says, all right, you know what? I'm seeing this on one building, one floor, on a few access points. And if you notice some of the information, this issue is triggered because there's a deviation from the baseline, predicted baseline, for this specific environment. All right? And I'm actually going to scroll down and show you a bit of detail. First of all, you can see the green shaded area, all right? So the green shaded area is that predicted baseline for this environment for this customer. And it notices that there was a drop in throughput at this particular time.
All right.
But it also correlated and found out that the number of clients connecting at that time was correct. So it was not that the clients dropped, but the throughput did. So something's wrong.
Yeah, and this is really great, because what you can see is that blue line varied a lot. And so normally with static thresholds, I would have gotten all kinds of alerts, and that would have driven that.
There would have been so much noise, you would have probably just ignored it,
and
right?
Instead, I'm only seeing things that are truly anomalous to my environment, and the alerts have been personalized for me and for my particular building or my particular floor in a building or even a conference room in a building.
And it's continuously learning, continuously improving. Now, you can go after this and add some KPIs to do some proactive exploration. You know, what could be causing this? Let me compare different graphs on my own. But you know what? Why do that when you've got this new capability called root cause analysis? Okay? So let's click on this, and let me touch on a different technology here called machine reasoning. It's part of that.
Fancy.
Yeah, part of that AI framework, right? Machine reasoning. Let me just kick it off here. And so it's started to run. It's going through a run book. I'm actually going to go behind the scenes and show you what's going on here. Okay. So I know this is a bit of an eye chart. What this says is we can create a workflow. This is a run book of all the steps to go through to root cause this kind of issue. And that run book is developed by Cisco engineers who are experts at this and who can create new ones, update them, and download them through the cloud. So think new issues and better ways of root causing those dynamically becoming available to you.
So over the last 35 years, we've obviously learned a thing or two, and now we can encapsulate that. And instead of having like a user go and start to try to troubleshoot this on their own, the machine can run those operations for them.
Right, and it's going to get even better. This is a little bit later in the next few months where we will make that workflow editor available to customers.
All right, so now we talked about personalizing my alerts, but now I can actually personalize my operations and actually have DNA Center run those on my behalf, because every environment's unique, and every environment has their own run books.
It's the collective learning of the network engineers in here. So very, very powerful. Let's go back here. And look, machine reasoning is almost done. All right, it's detected 2 conclusions. Okay, let's just go look at some of the details. What it's found is on the access point where you were going through this and running the root cause analysis, it's configured for a low density environment. And in this environment with a number of clients, it's recommending that you move to a high density profile. It's also gone and checked all the other access points on that floor, and they happen to have the same low density setting. Right? So if you're on wireless LAN controllers, this is a very familiar setting. It's now saying, you know what, you can go ahead and fix it right here. I'm going to click that, apply it to all those 19 access points, and there you go.
Wow, that's super powerful. So not only resolved it for that one AP, but it anticipated that there might be problems on other APs and went ahead and adjusted those as well.
It went and adjusted, and you closed the loop here.
Yeah,
right?
This is really where intent-based networking we talk about. We wanted to be able to automate everything. We want to be able to detect issues faster, make it simpler, but then also to remediate issues when they come up, because the network must be uninterrupted. It must be always on these days.
That's exactly right. And then one last thing that I really like here as well is you can mark the issue as resolved. So now we can learn that all the work we've done here, the information we provided actually helped you, and that allows that engine to just get smarter and smarter every time it is used.
So just like we were talking about JP with the thumbs up, thumb down, the global system learns, and now the tool will get better and better as it's
just really exciting technology.
Oh, very cool. Thank you so much, Satya.
All right, thanks,
awesome.
Scott.
So you can see why we're excited. There's a lot of new innovation here, and there's a lot of new things we're bringing to market. And the cool part about this is this all comes just within DNA Center. So if you already have DNA Center, you're going to just get this kind of new innovation. And what this is about accelerating your journey to that next generation campus. It's about making things become easier to deploy, easier to manage, to control that whole environment as a single fabric so you can provide security. So that it can be wireless enabled, can be cloud driven, and you can benefit from that acceleration of innovation we can provide you via the controller layer, and it can be data optimized.
Now that we have the foundation set for intent-based networking, like everything you showed here today, that's just delivered through the cloud to DNA Center.
Just updates.
It's just updates, and we can now start innovating and networking at the speed of the cloud. So we can just start delivering new capability. When we talked about putting a subscription model into access networking, people kind of wondered what we were doing, but this is what it's all about. If you have that Advantage subscription, this capability is just available in the next upgrade of the technology.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had a massive amount of innovation in the last 2 years. It's only going to get faster.
It's only going to get faster now. One of the things that's changed in IP networking is now there's just an enormous number of new things that connect to the network. And we saw all the portfolio that we're building across Catalyst. That Catalyst portfolio now also extends into the OT environment. So all that ruggedized equipment for switching, wireless routing, that's all Catalyst as well. It all runs the same OS. It runs Polaris. It's all managed by DNA Center. So to take us through the innovation that's happening in this part of the network, Liz Santoni, who leads the IoT networking business for Cisco, and Bob Karshnia, who is VP GM of Wireless Automation Solutions at Emerson, is going to join me on stage.
So your networks are no longer just contained in your campus, in your branch, in your office. It's extending out into these new spaces. It could be a warehouse. It could be all the way to the refinery. The question is your network built for that? Because your architecture has to span across all of these new and emerging domains, bringing things like automation, bringing security, so that you can realize the true value of IoT quickly and cost effectively. So Bob and I are going to talk to you about how we're connecting things, gaining insights, and helping make decisions in the oil and gas industry to do things like help improve worker productivity and keep workers safe. So Bob, you've been in this industry for a very long time, 20 plus years. Right. I've heard you describe it before as something like this, like from a hole in the ground to a ship to a car. But it's not that simple, is it?
No, Liz, it really isn't. If you kind of look at the business, it's broken down into three main segments: the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream. And there are thousands of touch points across there that are critical to delivering that gas to the car. And in each step of that process, technology gives us the opportunity to actually deliver that gasoline at a lower price point and actually make the environment safer for the workers who are in it.
So a pretty big space, upstream, midstream, downstream. How does technology do it?
Well, I'll give you an example. Upstream, we're pulling the oil and gas out of the ground, and then in downstream, we're actually refining that into gasoline. And today, there's a lot of manual rounds that are done where workers are walking around or driving their trucks. And in each one of those processes, it puts the worker basically in harm's way. So our objective is to try to figure out how to automate that so we can keep them safe. And if I take a whole bunch of sensors now, not just the typical pressure sensors, but all kinds of new sensors, I can start monitoring corrosion in pipes, and I can look at pumps to see if they're going to fail. And if I do all that and give that actionable information to an operator out in the field, they can actually take action before there's a problem. So today in a refinery, average size refinery, you might save $15 million a year running these kinds of applications.
So pretty solid, real ROI. So let's zoom into the refinery a little bit. Wireless is really the backbone to help improve worker productivity, but it also helps in terms of collecting data a lot more efficiently. You've got many use cases. Can you share a couple of them with us?
Sure. So at Emerson, we provide the sensors and the analytics software that provides what we refer to as actionable information. And that means that I got to be able to get information to workers who need it. And Wi-Fi is the critical piece to that. It allows us to take tablets that people use today and deploy them out into these hazardous areas.
And they call it something like tough books instead, though.
Yeah, right. Kind of a different, not like your iPad. But with those workers out there today, during a turnaround or a shutdown, they're actually be able to be a lot more efficient. They can get the data on their tablets instead of radioing back into the control room. And we see about a 50% improvement in productivity of these workers on the tasks that they're doing. So it's a pretty significant step forward. Another example would be monitoring corrosion in a pipe. So using wireless sensors and that advanced analytic of the data, we can actually tell operators about potential leak points. And using predictive modeling, we can now actually do preventive maintenance, preventing them from actually having a problem. Again, about a $5 million savings per year, and it only takes 3 months to pay back. And the great thing about this, the more you measure, the more you solve.
And that's right. It's like a lot more use cases. And that's exactly why we built our joint solution between Cisco and Emerson. So over there, you actually have our heavy-duty Catalyst access points, and you have the wireless HART gateway that plugs right on that. Now, for this access point, we actually custom-built it for this environment, because even a little bit of a spark could ignite vapors and cause an explosion. This is managed by the same Cisco DNA Center that Scott talked about. So you can use DNA Assurance to troubleshoot network issues really quickly. And with identity services, only trusted users and trusted devices can access trusted services. So when you put all of this together, think about it. It's a network that's always on and available, because even a brief lapse in connectivity costs millions of dollars.
Right, it does.
Bob, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks.
So as Bob talked about, when IT and OT really work together, your businesses can realize tremendous value. But not all customers actually make it from a proof of concept all the way to full-scale deployment. And this is because, one, it's really complex. These environments, as Bob was talking about, are brownfield environments. You're not going to rip and replace every product, but you've got to bring these products into compliance. The second thing is, as we're connecting all of these environments to the enterprise network, you're now exposing these operational assets, and you've got to protect them. But there's a bigger problem than that: lack of visibility. Just about a couple of months ago, I was talking to one of our bigger customers, and they were saying, I don't have an idea about 40% of the operational assets that are connected to my enterprise networks. So the question is, how do you protect what you can't see? So last week, this is why we announced our intent to acquire Centrio, because it brings you the visibility and the communication patterns between these operational assets that sit in this environment. And the last thing, it's about scale. Sure, you can do a POC, it might be easy, but when you take that to a plant, when you take that to a refinery, when you're doing this on a national scale, it's a lot harder to do. And that's why you need an architectural approach and not a manual one. This is where the intent-based architecture comes into play, because OT can define the intent, and IT then deploys that intent with the right security policy, with the automation across the entire enterprise. So going back to the use cases that Bob talks about, we're bringing that same intent-based networking infrastructure or architecture all the way down to the refinery. So think about it. You can connect these wireless devices, aggregate them to the same Catalyst 9K using ICE for security policy. In the manufacturing segment, we actually have our Catalyst heavy-duty switch that connects things like PLCs. It connects things like robots, aggregated to the same network, managed by ICE for security policy. That's exactly what we mean when we talk about bringing intent-based networking to the IoT edge. So the same capabilities, the same tools, from the campus, branch, to a warehouse, now all the way to a refinery.
We're going to spend just a few minutes talking about some Cisco research. We started off the day with talking about building for the Internet of the future. In the Internet future, we have to think about some new problems. And one of those problems is, how do we think about security in a post-quantum computer world? This is one of these new technologies that Chuck talked about. right? We got to think about everything we've built over the last 30 years and everything we've done with security has now got to work in a world where we have quantum computers. So if you were going to think of what is some research Cisco is doing, you would think this is one of the areas we're going to spend some time on, is how do we think through this problem and basically be able to provide the level of privacy and security we've all come to expect. So David McGrew is going to join me on stage to talk a little bit about that. You've been working on all kinds of encryption technology for the last 20 years, right? How do we think about privacy and security on the internet?
Exactly. You know, I started out, the first task was to make encryption go as fast as the network speed, and we've done that, and encryption is foundational to the security of everything we do.
Okay, so David's a pretty humble guy, but if you're thinking about like any technology used on the internet, about how you do security and all the encryption algorithms, you've had a hand in building all that stuff over the last 20 years, whether it's elliptic curve cryptography or RSA or driving TLS 1.3. This is the guy that's been driving that both in the standards and all the implementation across the portfolio. So now you've been thinking about this question, quantum computers, and they're on the horizon. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. There's a lot of research going into this. It's going to be a great thing when they're here. But what's the dilemma with security and privacy on the internet?
So a quantum computer would be able to break all of the public key cryptography that's in use on the internet today. So a quantum computer would bring all sorts of wonderful benefits. That's why people are trying to build one, right? It would revolutionize medicine and material science. And so billions of dollars are being spent by companies and governments around the world because of these great benefits, but then public key cryptography is going to be roadkill.
So all that, this life's works, Dave, like a quantum computer is going to come along and people could record a session and then break the encryption. So we need to think about, okay, what are we going to do? So that's the question you've been thinking about. So let's look at what have you actually been working on and how do you think about solving this problem? Because there's a lot of infrastructure out there we all rely on to be private.
That's exactly right. So in cryptography, we have to worry not just about the security today, but for tomorrow. So we want to be able to integrate in post-quantum secure technologies into the networks of today, right? So that's what we've been working on, is a way to integrate quantum-safe cryptography into every session key that an encrypting router would engage in.
Okay, so if I, just to kind of simplify this a little bit, you're thinking about, hey, there's all this encryption that's on the internet, and that is basically subject to, it could be broken if we had a general purpose quantum computer, but what if we made the keys post-quantum secure, then could still use the same infrastructure, right?
That's exactly right.
So this is what it would kind of look like, just a little model here. You would basically have, let's build this out. You would basically have a post-quantum key source, and there's people working on, there's a whole industry around that, right?
There's all sorts of cool technologies there.
There's all sorts of stuff going there, and we've built prototypes of this too. I mean, we've got Pradeep over here. They're actually building prototypes of what this would look like, so this has moved beyond just the research phase. We're kind of experimenting with it. So the idea is we build an API off the equipment, we get the post-quantum secure key from that, and then we signal that to the other side. That's a pre-shared key. And then the infrastructure that we've set up, that is now post-quantum secure. Is that basically the way it works?
That's exactly how it works. So the great thing here is that the data plane that we have for IPsec and MACsec, that's post-quantum secure. We just need to get the key management post-quantum secure as well. So we built a nice, flexible way to bring in different technologies, cool things like quantum key distribution or code-based cryptography to initialize symmetric pseudorandom functions. There's all sorts of different technologies people can apply, and each has its own trade-offs in terms of range or operational considerations. So we want to be able to bring the best new technologies into the networks of today. That's the goal of our research.
So I guess now we're going to start down the standards path so all of us can embrace this post-quantum world. So a lot of work left to do, but it's an important problem that we're thinking about at Cisco. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Asia Pacific. Super excited to be talking to you. As many of you might recall, I used to be the lead for the collaboration business for Asia Pacific till early this year. Over the last 2 years, we've seen fantastic successes with our industry-leading collaboration portfolio, enabling us to win hearts and minds of customers across the region and across all segments. Government customers, enterprises, as well as small and medium businesses. So it gives me extra pleasure in introducing our next keynote speaker, Amy Chang, our SVP and General Manager for Cisco's collaboration business. In the last 12 months, under Amy's leadership, we've seen incredible innovation in our portfolio, driven by simplicity, openness, interoperability, and truly driving a platform approach around WebEx. A cornerstone for this innovation is cognitive, which will revolutionize the way that we work. These are some of the key topics you will hear from Amy in her keynote. This is particularly significant for Asia Pacific, as many of our customers are going through a major workplace transformation driven by the need for smarter workplaces and better engagement. Our portfolio innovations can now help each one of you experience these innovations in easy, affordable ways and drive collaboration at light speed from the pocket to the boardroom. Sounds exciting? Sign up for a free test drive at the website below.
On the heels of fantastic growth on this already multi-billion-dollar business, we are so thrilled to introduce the concept of cognitive collaboration. And this concept is going to touch the 300 million people globally we already serve with this portfolio today. Now, when I sit down with all of you, our customers, our partners, our analysts, one of the most fascinating parts of the conversation is always about future state, about where we are headed as an industry. What happens 2 years, 3 years, 5 years out from now that causes sweeping change? Well, that is where cognitive collaboration comes in, because its context and intelligence slipstreamed into the product without the user ever needing to lift a finger. And this technology will be so foundational to building highly personalized experiences and really changing how we work. Let me show you instead of telling you. So, as a simple example, you're all busy people. Well, what if next time you're going to sit down with a customer, everything about the account, the person, the company is just brought to you on a silver platter without you needing to do a thing? Take a look.
Identity confirmed. Welcome, Jerry Elliott. I have the briefings for your 3 p.m. video conference with David Solomon of Goldman Sachs and Ariana Huffington of Thrive. David Solomon had a recent news spike. Here is a popular video of David. Goldman Sachs' last reported earnings are shown here. Year-over-year profit and revenue comparisons are as follows. You and David likely know these people in common. 1 minute until your meeting begins.
So why Cisco to make this happen? What do we have up our sleeves that's going to make this a market reality? Well, Chuck was just mentioning that we bought this small startup about a year ago, and most of us from the founding team had come from Google, where there were 2 things that we learned how to do well. The first was build super scaled data platforms. The second was, well, crawl the web, because it's Google. So you put those 2 pieces together, and there's a massive data platform that I want to tell you about. Because we put together this data ingestion engine that every nanosecond of the day is on the hunt for any information about a person or a company. And as soon as we find that information about a person or a company, now mind you, publicly available, non-logged in, privacy-respectful information, we take it, we parse it into its component pieces, and we associate it to the right person. This right person piece is harder than you may think. If you have a highly generic name like mine, Amy Chang is the Jim Smith of the Chinese world. There are thousands of us running around. We're everywhere. There's 2 of us at Cisco, right? That discernment piece, it's harder because that one little piece of information, which of the thousands is it about? And that's the secret sauce that now undergirds the WebEx graph and has enriched this graph with 300 million people and 25 million companies. Let me show you instead of telling you. So first, for reference, we're going to see my friend Pat Wertz's profile on LinkedIn. That's relatively sparse because Pat hasn't had to find a new job in a fairly long time, so she hasn't needed to update it. And you notice here it says she's an administrative assistant at 3M. Now let me show you Pat on the WebEx graph. Do you see how rich and dense and full of information this is? Everything I need to know about Pat, it's right there at my fingertips. I didn't need to do a thing. It's brought to me. I see her biographies up here. I see anytime she's appeared anywhere, news about her, all of her company affiliations. Pat, by the way, is a board member for 3M. She's not an assistant. But if I click on Procter & Gamble, one click, everything about Procter is right there. Financials, do they have a good earnings? Do they not? How many employees do they have? What is their news? And this chart here, news activity, on any given Tuesday at 11 a.m., we know exactly how much news Procter is supposed to have. The second it jumps a standard deviation above that, we're going to alert you if Procter's your customer. And if Pat's your client, you don't need to do a thing. It's going to come to you. Now, all of this information, and I'm going to show you in a second, has been folded into WebEx. Meetings and Teams is coming. But where it gets really interesting is when you start thinking about what patterning and what analysis we can do on top of that base layer of data and what the graph can do together. So give me 60 seconds to explain this. I know it's a lot of pluses. So this is the last 50 years worth of Stanford graduates. Every column is a graduating class. And every little purple plus is a human being. So just like Pat Wertz. And what we've done is graph them on a y-axis of business prominence. Now you could do political prominence, media prominence. This happens to be business prominence. And what we're looking at here for each cohort class is, as you look at all of these careers, whose career has pulled a standard deviation up off of the cohort norm? So as they have gone from hop to hop to hop to hop in their career, how accelerated has that hopping been? And how significant a company each time? So we're looking at growth, we're looking at financials, we're looking at presence in the industry, and we're looking at sub-cohorts. So let's say 10 people start roughly the same time at roughly the same place in the same position. We're going to look at how those trajectories have gone. And we're going to normalize for simple things like, oh, okay, Salesforce has more vice presidents per capita than Facebook. Great, let's just normalize that. So you see this green line? That's the 90th percentile. Every single purple plus above that green line, Stanford needs to know about now. Every single purple plus along the band of that green line, those are your rising stars. Those are your high potentials. That's who Stanford needs to start forming that relationship with. Now think for a second about the implications of this on contact center. Today, state of the art, when I call in to change my travel plans into this contact center, that routing is maybe done by customer lifetime value. What if you could add potential customer lifetime value to that? Hold that thought, and we're going to come back to it. But first, I do want to show you how this is alive and real today. You'll notice we held our fire on announcing cognitive collaboration until we had it to put into your hands. A lot of you are already using it. If you're not yet and you want to see it, come to the WebEx Experience Zone in the World of Solutions. You could touch it, you could play with it, and we can get you set up. So, with that, I'd like to show you how it's already incorporated into the WebEx experience today. So this is live and real and in use today by Fortune 10 customers who use upwards of 280 million minutes a month on this new platform. Video usage looks like this, which to a product manager is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So please come try it out. You're going to see this cognitive collaboration weave into our entire portfolio. So first on the WebEx platform, across messaging, meetings, and calling, then in our devices, both phones and video, and finally in contact center. So let's talk about that for a second, right, on the contact center side. So if you were able to get the right customer to the right agent at the right time with much, much more frequency, what would happen in terms of the customer experience? What would happen in terms of your expansion of share of wallet? Yeah, it's going to have a great effect. Because if I know more about you when you call in, I can route you much more effectively. So the software that we already build in Contact Center today, you're going to see us continue to heavily invest there and bring you some magic as fast as we possibly can. Now, a lot of you already know about WebEx Assistant and all of the investments we've made on voice there. But what you might not have known is AI and ML have already woven their way into our video devices. So, here today from our Oslo team is the people that make this technology to showcase facial recognition, active framing technology, and some of the telemetry we already provide to partners today. Oslo, take it away.
Hello, Amy, and hi, San Diego. We are joining you from Oslo today, and we're huddled together in a small meeting room using the brand new RoomKit Mini. It's designed for rooms for up to 5 people, so you can think of it as a RoomKit, but smaller.
Yeah, and it's a single screen system where people sit close to the screen. The RoomKit Mini has an extreme wide angle camera. It's 120 degrees field of view, and I'm sitting so close that I just touch it.
And with the extreme camera view, we need to use the powerful RoomKit Mini hardware to straighten out the fisheye effect. So let's quickly have a look. Okay, this is the raw camera feed, and you can see the bent lines and the curved edges of the image. It might look funny, but not that great, so let's go back to the corrected Cisco view. Whoa, that's a lot better.
Yeah, and like the rest of the portfolio, the camera is fully automatic using best view, so I don't need to worry about camera control.
And like most of you guys have noticed, we have our name tags popping up here as well. So throughout the whole room portfolio, we can now support all those great AI features. But I also think we should do a little stress test on this. Let's see what happens when I put my shades on.
It still works, but that's not really a stress test. I mean, I can put my shades on as well. But let's see what happens when I put my hair back on. Yeah. Still works. So we also wanted to show you the diagnostic mode of the system as well. So we have the same feature set on the RoomKit Mini as the rest of the portfolio. You can see where our faces are. You see the gray square we have here, which is the crop. And you also see in the upper right corner, the people count shows it's 3 of us in the meeting room. All good.
So to sum it up, the RoomKit Mini has been a runaway success so far. It is providing the same industry-leading quality that our customers are used to from Cisco products, but now even for smaller meeting rooms and huddle spaces. So that's it from us. Thank you, and back to you, Amy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. I don't know anyone who doesn't want magic when they walk into a meeting room. When I walk in and that video device is there, I want my software to talk to my hardware. I want to just be able to walk in and flip what I need to flip up onto the screen and share it. I want it to be instantaneous, and I want it to be shared with the people in the room and the people thousands of miles away, because it shouldn't matter where they are. That's the type of experience we're talking about here. On the contact center side, again, the software married with the hardware. The routing married with the phones, married with the headsets. And we're so excited today to talk about the unified client. So, historically, you've had 3 apps or 2 apps for calling, for messaging, and for meetings. No more. As of today, here at Cisco Live, one single, beautiful, unified app to do all of it. So your employees will be able to call, they'll be able to meet, and to message all in one. And for those of us who help administer some of this software, there's even better news. So when you move from prem to cloud, Nobody forklifts 20,000 people from prem to cloud and says, oh, surprise, good morning, we've moved 20,000 people to cloud. Doesn't happen. You move line of business by line of business, department by department. Well, now the interfaces and the experience is the same great one, whether on-prem or in the cloud, which means no retraining of your employees as you make that migration. So, I also, Chuck mentioned interop. Wanted to cover a little bit of what we've already done there, and you're going to see a lot more from us where that came from. Take a look. Thanks. Yeah, we know you have software you're already using, and we need to work with that software, so we get it. We're part of an ecosystem, and you're going to see more and more of that from us. Now, some of you have also brought up recently, hello, what about your premise-based portfolio? You're going to continue to commit to that and really develop for it? Yes. The answer to that is yes, yes, and yes. So as an example, for Jabber, when I started just a year ago, we already had 36 million active users on Jabber. In 1 year, we've grown to 45 million actives on Jabber. We basically grew an entire 9 million in a year. So you better believe we are investing in that roadmap and investing in phenomenal experiences for all of your employees across our premise-based portfolio. That is happening. So, our mission was to show you what we have for you today, tomorrow, and for many tomorrows to come. You're going to see cognitive collaboration weave into all of our products. First, into the WebEx platform, then into our devices, phones and video, and into Contact Center. You're going to see us continue to supply our partners with a phenomenal platform and developer tools. And you're going to see us hold to the promises that we have made you to interoperate and to build bridges, not islands. No more islands. Now, we know every single day matters, and you are going to see us run. It is going to be hit after hit for the next 18 months. That's the plan, and that is our promise to you. Thank you so much again for joining us here today. We hope to see you throughout the show.
Last year, I also introduced this concept of customer experience. And as we think back over the last 25 or 30 years, we've had services businesses. We've had services that we would deliver to you. We had technical services, which is primarily around support and maintenance, and we had professional services or advanced services. And what became very clear, particularly as I got to know the individual that I'm getting ready to introduce, is that we needed to evolve how we think about engaging with you from the time you buy technology from us until the time you retire that technology from us. And we needed to really think about the entire experience that you have with our technologies. Whether it's a switch or whether it's a phenomenal SaaS application and everything in between, we really want to make sure that you're getting all the value from the technology you buy from us every day. And the person who actually helped me understand that we needed to think that way is also going to be joining me on stage for the first time at Cisco Live. Please join me in welcoming Maria Martinez to the stage. There you go.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm very
Just get out
excited
here in the
to be
middle where
here.
everybody can see you.
Yes, well, I'm very, very excited to be here. My first Cisco Live, my first year at Cisco. Wow, the energy is amazing.
Oh, well, you know, Maria, you educated me when we were. Every time we had a conversation, I would come back and say, I think I got it after we chatted. So, for this group, why don't you just talk a little bit about what is customer experience, or what we've begun to call CX?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the best way to talk about customer experience really is to talk about it from your point of view. When you join this event in Cisco Live, we send you a survey and we ask you, what are your top priorities? Well, you identified one of your very top priorities to be customer experience, right? So doesn't matter if your customer is your internal customer inside your company, or if your customer is the end customer, right? You really care about customer experience. Well, so do we, right? So customer experience, to follow Chuck's vision, is also about innovation. So the same way that we're innovating in all the products that you saw here, we're also committed to innovating more and more on how we engage with you every day. So we've been working very hard for the last year. This is clearly a company-wide initiative to really do everything from pulling together all these functions that Chuck talked about to make sure that we provide you a better integrated experience, to really think about how we work with you around use cases and solutions versus products. Right? How do we engage with the entire partner ecosystem so that that experience is all, fully, integrated? So that's really, what we focus on those. Our sole mission is to focus on customer success, right? Yep. So our job is to take all that great stuff that David and Amy talked about and make sure you can take it home and make it work and make it really successful for all of you. So to just talk a little bit more about that and share an example, I want to go back to the video that you showed about a customer in Japan, Rakuten. Yeah. With Rakuten, we've done really a great job building a fully automated, fully virtualized 5G network in record time. So we want to share with you now the inside story about Rakuten. Let's roll the video.
All right.
April 16th, 2018. This is Tokyo. This is Rakuten. These are Cisco executives invited to a meeting with Rakuten. This is Tarek Amin, CTO of Rakuten Mobile. This is Prakash Suthar, team leader from Cisco Customer Experience.
Namaskar. Good morning.
This is a story about doing something that's never been done before.
Prakash, I need someone to help me build the world's first end-to-end cloud-native network. We need a partner.
Let's do it.
In order for this to work, it has to be optimized for 5G.
We'll design it from scratch.
Fully automated.
Fully virtualized.
Cloud.
Core.
Transport.
Virtual RAN. Everything.
It will be the first of its kind.
Oh, yeah.
You can figure it out?
We can figure it out.
This is their idea. It's an ambitious idea. An unprecedented idea.
It's true.
But this is what industry executives called it.
Impossible.
But that didn't stop them. That just made them hungry.
So, Prakash, how about developers?
We'll create a platform.
Different systems.
Different partners working together. What else?
This is the plane that took the Rakuten team to San Jose.
Okay, so it takes 3 weeks to implement a traditional radio site.
With automation, we can do it in 10 minutes and more secure.
Zero touch.
Zero defect.
Ready for 5G.
Just upgrade the software.
This is Tarek's impressed face. This went on for months.
We're going to need new hardware.
Then we'll partner with your vendor.
But our design?
You got it.
Then Tarek said.
And we want you to manage the whole chain, oversee the integration of vendors and partners.
February 3rd, 2019. This is Rakuten and Cisco and their impossible idea making their first call.
Oh my God.
And the world just changed. Rakuten and Cisco customer experience. The right solutions, the right technology, most importantly, the right people. Between ideas and invention, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
That's great. That's good. I don't know why, but my favorite part of that is that music. Dun, dun, dun. But anyway.
Yeah. We have fun, Chuck. We have fun.
did.
And Prakash is around here too somewhere, so in case you want to talk to him.
Yeah, I get the calls from them, so I'm glad you guys are doing a good job. Just quickly, you've been here about a year, much like Jerry and Amy, and what have you been up to?
Well, we're being kind of building the foundation and all this work for all this transformation around, customer experience. Our unique approach, in the industry really is to focus on being with you at every single step of your journey. So as you think about a new project, a new, transformation, a new challenge you want to take on, we want to really be with you, helping you all the way from the planning phase, when we're just trying to decide what to do, you're building your roadmap, to the point where you need to, develop some capabilities for yourself. A lot of these new projects and transformation require you to learn some new capabilities, right? And your teams, to be prepared. To also help you drive timely implementations, on also adoption, across your entire base, and of course also help you optimize your system and then innovate, because this cycle, is going to continue with more projects and with more things that you want to do.
Yeah, I think, Maria, as I think about this, one of the big differences that I see is when we talk about learning, as an example, historically, you would buy a credit or pay for a class and you would go. And that'll still be part of the offer, but you'll also have ongoing continual education around different technologies and different solutions so that our customers can continue to stay up to speed and learn in various different ways, one-on-ones, group expert sessions, classrooms, whatever it might be. It's sort of an end-to-end set of options, right? As one example, which I think applies to all the other things you're doing.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what we're trying to do, all of those flavors, and probably more important than ever, on-time learning. So as you choose a particular use case or a particular problem you want to tackle, we want to put that capability right in front of you.
Great.
So one of the things that we've really been focusing on then is to take all the offers that we have today, and we have refreshed them all with all that great technology that you saw here yesterday and today, to make sure that we are not only providing the active learning that we just talked about, but also continuing to enhance, our great, support offers. But more important, we're building intelligence and machine learning and analytics in everything that we do to make sure that we can provide to you timely insights. And then our resources, our expert resources, are ready now to tackle the most challenging projects around automation and multi-cloud and intent-based networking. And everything, is about doing this with speed and agility. Today, we're announcing here at Cisco Live, BCS 3.0. And many of you are familiar with our business critical services. It's our highest demand offer today, where we provide expertise and analytics and insights for you to work, on all your projects. And what's new about BCS is that what traditionally was an offer that we were really spending a lot of time around optimization, now we're providing a lot more capabilities to help you in that entire journey, all the way from your design, architecture, and everything that you do. But the most exciting thing to me is that we are actually packaging this offer now into modules that are focused on you. So no matter if you're like an architect or you're an engineer or you're in operations, we will package all the content to help you with your, your specific job. And I am very, very much proud of the work that we are doing now, doubling down in the area of security with SecOps and also in DevOps. So it's all about delivering value so that making sure that you get full value from what you purchase from us.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Maria, thank you very much for giving us those insights, and we look forward to seeing this strategy continue to evolve over the coming years.
Hello again. I hope you found the keynote as inspiring as I did. And I'm sure you're just as excited as I am about the innovation with which we're leading the world. Do reach out to your Cisco representative or any of our partners should you wish to find out more about the innovations we've announced at Cisco Live. Thank you for watching.